to do the things you want. So you don't always have to be dependent on a paycheck or dependent on your job, because you've got to understand that at some point, either one of two things are going to happen. Your job's going to fire you, or you're going to fire your job. And that's a fact. So uh, let's jump into it. So today I want to teach you something that's really cool, something I learned in probably in the just probably past 2 years, something I didn't know at first. So, but I want to share with you so that you can know what I know now, and so that you can use what I know, you can use it to your advantage to do the things you want to do. So today we're going to talk about buying a house, right? And so I have no problems with people buying or owning houses. I only have a problem with how you go about paying for the house. So I always say that if you use a paycheck to pay for the house, then that does a couple of things. It ties you to a paycheck for 30 years because that's the only way you can pay your mortgage, and it takes away your freedom. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you have to sell your time. When you get a 30-year mortgage, that means you have to pay that paycheck. So let's say your mortgage is due every month for 30 years, right? So 30 times 12 equals 360. So for the next 360 months, you, my friend, have got to go to work because you got to have a paycheck to pay for your house. And if you don't pay for your house, then they come and do this thing called repo, and they take your house away. And so I don't want you to be in that position. I want you to succeed and be successful. So today, me, Shon-Jhon, the Middleman CEO, I'm going to show you how to exactly use an asset or a business or a side hustle or a middleman business to buy a house. So if you got a couple minutes, I'll go ahead and get started and show it to you. So I want you to understand this formula that I use, because again, I'm not against owning houses. I just want you to know how to get a house without needing a paycheck. So I'm gonna give you some real game here. You're not gonna get this in college. Most people don't think this way. I think this way. So you don't have to do what I do. I'm not telling you it's mandatory. I'm just giving you an alternative perspective. So I'm just giving you a different look. So normally when you think about buying a house, tell me if I'm right. Normally when people think about buying homes, we'll just draw this little house right there with the door, some windows and whatnot, and that's your house, right? So normally when people thinking about buying a house comes with this thing called a mortgage, right? And so people think about buying a house and having a 30-year mortgage, right? And so when you think about how do I buy the house and pay my mortgage, then the thing that ties it together is this thing called a paycheck. And so most people think that when they get a house, in order to get a house and pay the mortgage, they have to make money on a place called a job, and the job's going to give them this thing called a paycheck, and they're going to use the paycheck to pay for the mortgage. Does that make sense? The problem is if anything happens to the paycheck, so you get laid off, you get furloughed, you get hurt, the business closes, your company downsizes, right? Or they just shut down. If anything happens to the paycheck, then you can't pay your mortgage. And if you can't pay your mortgage, then you can't have your house. And so the lender comes and repossesses your house, right? And so I don't want you to be in a position where if you lose your paycheck, you lose everything. That's very, very vulnerable. And the worst part is your paycheck is too powerful if this is how you roll. So if your paycheck is used to cover your mortgage and put your family in a home, then if anything happens in this equation to break it up, so if something happens to your paycheck, you can't pay your mortgage and you lose your home. To me, that's way too much leverage. And for those who may not understand, might not understand what leverage is. Leverage is, let me see if I can put it in layman's terms, because I didn't always know what it was either. So and again, if you have any questions or comments, drop it. Please don't feel like it's stupid. As long as you're respectful, we can rock. If you do cross the line, I'm blocking you off the channel, and because we don't want to deal with you. But if you have a question or comment, go ahead and drop it. And so, but a paycheck it has too much leverage. And leverage just simply means it's too powerful. It can mean that a paycheck's too powerful because it disrupts everything if you lose it. Leverage could be something that's used for, and then you fill in the blank, right? So it's power essentially, right? So leverage is power. So there's nothing wrong with owning a house. The only thing that you have to think about when you get a house, is how are you going to pay for it? And so my big thing is, excuse me, guys, it's early. So my big thing is if you use a paycheck to pay for the house, and if anything happens to your paycheck, your house is X'd out and you lose your house, right? And so I don't want you to lose your house. Does that make sense? And so I'm very big on let's make sure. Let me see if I could change the way this looks. Sometimes I like different looks. All right, we can roll with this one. I'm okay with that one. And so I want you guys I want your focus to always be on how do I buy the things that I want? And you don't have to buy a house. It could be a car, it could be anything. But I just want to teach you a formula that I use. And this formula, Marcus kind of dying. Let's try this one. And this formula is called A times C equals L, right? And that's the formula. So A times C equals L. And I know a lot of time I'm teaching you guys about business, and this is some business teaching, but what I want to show you is how to use a business to get the things you want in life. Is that fair? All right, if you have a question or comment, drop it. And if this is making sense to you, hit that thumbs up, let me know. That's the only way I know this is helping. So what's my formula? My formula to buy a house is simply this, because most people's formula to buy a house is going to be all right, so you're going to either use the ACL formula or the JPL formula, right? And so, because I know I can read your mind, I know you're sitting there going, what in the world is a JPL? And so I want to show you something real quick. So 90% of the people who own homes use the JPL formula. 10% of the people who own homes, and I want you, from now on, I want you to think like the 10% and not at all, ever again, think like the 90%. I don't want you to be the 90% anymore. Don't do what everybody else is doing. All right, so let's break it down. So, and I'll do this real quick and I'll let you get back to your day. So 10%, 90%. 10% of people use the ACL formula to buy a house, right? So this, again, there's nothing wrong with buying a house. The only problem that I have, or the only question I have for you when it comes to buying a house is how are you going to pay for it, right? So same house. Everybody gets the same house, right? Right? Your house, their house, same house. So everybody's gunning for the same home. Hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, guys. Make sure you smash the thumbs up. This lets me know that what I'm teaching you is helping you. And so let's talk about this formula. So at the end of the day, we all want to buy the house, right? You want to buy the house, I want to buy the house, right? Nothing wrong with that. And so the only difference is, how do you go about buying it? So most of America is going to go about buying it through the JPL way. And so all that JPL means is J is going to stand for job, right? So job times paycheck. So most people who buy houses use a job to get a paycheck to buy a liability. That's what the L stands for, is liability. And the liability in this case is the house. I know people tell you that your house is an asset. It's not. A house is a liability. If you live in it and you pay the mortgage, it's a liability. Cash is flowing away from you. If you want to know the difference between an asset and a liability, let me show you really, really quickly. So you can know this and never forget this. All right? Because people are going to not tell you the truth. They're going to tell you that certain things are assets when they're really liabilities. The difference is between an asset and a liability, all you have to do is follow the money. You ever heard somebody say follow the money? That's all you have to do. So the money's going to tell you whether or not the house is an asset or a liability. So let's look at it. Cash flow. Where's the money going? So when you pay your mortgage, right? So when you pay your mortgage on a house, is money flowing into your pocket from the house or out of your pocket for the house? Right. So when you pay the mortgage, money is flowing out of your pocket. So when money flows out, you have a liability. When money flows in, you have an asset. So let me ask you this. When you pay your mortgage each month, are the banks paying you for the house or are you paying the banks? You're paying the banks. So that means even though the banks and people are telling you it's an asset, based on the law of cash flow, money flows out of your pocket. You pay for this out of your pocket, makes it a liability. Now, if someone was renting your home and paying monthly notes to you, and then you take some of the money and pay off your mortgage and some of the money goes into your bank account, then the house is paying you. Now that's an asset. So all you have to do is follow the cash flow. Is the house paying you? That's an asset. Are you paying the house? That's a liability. Now you know the difference between an asset and a liability. Simply follow where the cash is going to. So if I live in a house and I'm paying the mortgage each month, I own a liability according to the rules of cash flow. If I move out of the house and someone else moves in and rents the house from me and they pay me enough money to pay my mortgage and put money in my pocket, now my house has been converted into an asset. Now it makes me money, right? So I talk about it in my book, Ready, Set, Wealth. It says a liability takes you money, an asset makes you money, right? I'll say it again. An asset makes you money, a liability takes you money. And I wrote it just like that in the book for that reason. Bad grammar, I know, but good teaching because I wanted you to remember. Sometimes we remember crazy things. And so I wrote it that way so we can remember. So real quick, let's wrap this up. Job times a paycheck equals a liability. So people from a job use a job, trade their time for money at a job, get a paycheck, and use it to buy the liability, which is the house. That's how 90% of people do it. And most people are house broke. And so I don't want you to do it that way. I want you to come up here and use an asset times cash flow. And then you go out and then you buy the liability, or in this case, the house. Right? So most people are going to use a job, going to work at a job to get a paycheck to pay their liability, to buy the house. Right? The house is a liability. But what they fail to understand is if anything happens to the job or the paycheck, you lose the house. Because that's the only way you know how to pay for it. And that's tough. So you don't want to be in that position. You want to have an asset that creates cash flow that pays for the house. Now, where am I going with this? Listen, if you work a job and you depend on your job, you are risking everything if you lose that job and that paycheck. Right? So the people that use this formula to buy a house, if anything happens to the job or the paycheck, they lose the house. Because there's no other way to pay for it. So, but with you, I want to teach you that if you use an asset, like for instance, if you use a middleman business, right? So your asset could be your middleman business, and then this thing creates cash flow, and then you use that cash flow from the business to buy a house, right? So a middleman business is your asset. So you invest in starting your own business. You start a business, it starts making money for you like mine does, and then you use the money from the business to buy that liability or the house. Make sense? So now I don't need a paycheck. I don't need a job. As long as my business is running and I'm making money, that money pays for my house. So I can go spend this entire day with my family. It doesn't matter. As long as I have my phone, as long as I'm getting customers requesting quotes from me and I'm booking them, I'm making money. And then I dispatch it, right? So as soon as I do that, I'm able to build a business. So even if it takes me, 6 months, all right, now I have steady cash flow. I got an asset times cash flow. Now use that to buy the liability or the house. You buy your house with a paycheck, I buy my house with cash flow. You buy your house with a paycheck from a job, I buy my house with a cash flow from an asset, right? Paycheck from a job to buy the house? No, no. Cash flow from a business to buy the house? Yes, yes. Make sense? So if you want to be like the 10%, buy the house like the rich and the wealthy, and I'm not rich, right? And so, but well, I want to be very soon, but I just let you in on my little secret, and I will be. But I just want to show you, because I'm sharing my journey with you. This is how you buy a house from here on out. So when we build our dream house coming up very soon, this is how we're going to do it. So the middleman business that I have, jumping jack movers, jumping jack cleaners, that's all I do. I don't own a store. I don't own an office. I don't own any of that. I don't need that. All my money comes through the phone. Right? And so every time a customer reaches out to me and I book the customer and take $150 deposit, that's cash flow from my asset, which is my middleman business. I'll just put MMB. So my middleman business, every time, as long as I'm open and a customer requests a quote and I book them and take my deposit amount, my commission, I make $150. Well, that $150 goes towards me buying my house. Make sense? So if I do this 5 times a day, then I made $750 for that day on just 5 calls. That's it. Or 5 text messages or 5 emails. Either way, I made a quick $750 for the day. There were days when I was making $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a day. But even if I made $750 for the day, that $750 goes towards my house. So if I get fired from my job, lose my job, it does not matter. As long as my middleman business is operating, as long as my phone is on and I have a signal, I don't lose my house. So what am I teaching you? I'm teaching you there's a better way to buy a house than what the 90% does. They're risking everything. Trust me, if you start your own business and you create your own successful business, your business is going to buy the house for you. Whether you create a middleman business like me or whether you start something else, it does not matter. Use the cash flow from the business to buy the house, not a paycheck. That's a dead end. And you don't want to be driving down a dead end. Okay, I hope I helped somebody, because I know you guys are thinking about buying homes, and I've been talking about building my dream home very soon. I just wanted to share with you that I'm not going to use a job to build my dream home. I'm going to use my middleman business. Right? So if you start a business and you let it mature and create cash flow, you use that money from the business to pay for the house. Does it make sense? Don't let your job pay for the house, because you can lose your job. Let your business buy the house. Make sense? Hit subscribe, hit thumbs up. If you want to learn more about this, or if you have any other questions or comments about this, or if you agree or not, or if you have some other opinion about it, drop it in the comments. That's fair, and we can kind of talk about it. If you want to go ahead and start your own middleman business and you want me to teach you how to do it, I do have a course, the Middleman CEO Masterclass. Is about 6 hours. I promise it's going to change your life, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to get it. But if you commit to it and you go through the course, you're going to have a great time. It's going to flip your mindset, and your life will never be the same. You'll be able to make a living from home, from the beach, wherever you want to be, travel, vacation. You'll still be able to make money as long as you have your phone. That's all you need. And so if you want to learn how to start your business, you want to change your life, and you want to make more money without having to pick up another job or sell more time, you want to be free to do to do the things you want to do, live the life you want to live as opposed to the life you have to live, then I have no problems with that. All you have to do is hit the link in the first comment below. It's going to be the masterclass link. If you hit that link, you're going to get the masterclass at a discounted price, right? The masterclass soon is going to be going for $9.97. You're going to get it way cheaper than that, but you got to do it now, and only if you're serious about it, right? Take it, go through the course, change your life, learn how to make money ASAP. I have students that take the course, and then the next day they're already out booking jobs. And it's so easy, right? And I'll show you how to do it, but get the masterclass, start there. And then after the masterclass, I got a bonus for you. You and I are going to do some one-on-one, because I want to help you all the way through, answer all your questions, and take you to the top so that your life can change and never be the same. You want to buy a house? Want to live in a beautiful home? We all do. But there's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. This is the wrong way. This is the right way. Build a business. Build your middleman business today. All right, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, guys. I got to go. Busy day plan. I'll see you on the next video. I promise. I'll see you next time. And just have a wonderful, blessed day. Hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, tell someone about the channel, and hit the link for the masterclass in the first comment below. And I'll see you in the training. All right, guys. Peace.